Missouri River breaks around late afternoon, with the sun hanging low in the sky, casting a warm, golden light across the open prairie. This part of central Montana always had a way of making me feel like I'd stepped out of time. Just endless grasslands, scattered sandstone buttes, and no one else for miles. Boone, my German short-haired pointer, was practically vibrating with excitement as I turned off the dirt road and found a flat spot tucked beside a big sandstone formation. The second the truck came to a stop, he leapt out before I could even kill the engine. Nose to the ground, tail whipping back and forth, he took off through the knee-high grass, zigzagging like he was tracking a dozen different things at once. That's just how he was. Always moving, always exploring. I backed the truck in so the bed was right up against the rock. It made a good natural windbreak, and the area around it was fairly level. I like camping here. Quiet, remote, and with a clear view of the horizon. You could see for miles in every direction. Setting up the rooftop tent was quick. The canvas popped into shape with a couple of firm pulls, and I dropped the ladder down the side. I threw a sleeping bag and a pillow inside, along with my small lantern, then climbed down to start working on dinner. I lit the campfire first, using some split pine and kindling I brought from home. The fire caught quickly and started putting off a steady heat, smoke rising straight into the still air. The weather was perfect, warm enough for a t-shirt but just cool enough to make the fire feel good. I set up my propane stove on the tailgate and got the cast iron skillet hot. Dinner was simple but solid. A thick ribeye I'd seasoned back at the house, red potatoes wrapped in foil roasting in the coals, and asparagus with a bit of olive oil and salt. I added a dollop of garlic butter to the steak as it cooked, and the smell alone made the long drive worth it. While everything cooked, Boone wandered back into camp, panting and looking pleased with himself. He plopped down beside the fire and kept an eye on the prairie, ears twitching at every distant sound. I poured myself a small glass of bourbon, something smoky and strong, and sat back in my folding chair while the potatoes finished cooking. When the food was done, I passed Boone a piece of steak and tore into the rest. It's hard to explain how good a hot meal tastes when you're sitting under the open sky with no noise but wind and fire. No distractions, just being present. The sun finally dipped behind the distant buttes, and the prairie slowly shifted from gold to gray. Crickets started chirping. The fire cracked steadily. Overhead, the stars began showing through the dusk one by one until the whole sky lit up. No light pollution out here, just a black canvas full of stars. I could see the Milky Way clear as day, stretching from one side of the horizon to the other. After dinner, I pulled out my guitar and played a few slow tunes. Nothing fancy, just chords and melodies I've had in my head for years. Boone lay stretched out by the fire, head on his paws, eyes half closed. Every once in a while, he'd lift his head and sniff the air, then settle back down. Eventually, the air started to cool more noticeably, and I climbed up into the tent. I left the flaps open, wanting to feel the breeze and keep watching the stars. Boone followed, his claws tapping lightly on the ladder as he made his way up. Inside, I got settled in, pulling the sleeping bag up around me and setting my half-empty glass of bourbon in the little cup holder next to the sleeping pad. I could hear the wind rustling through the grass outside and the occasional distant yip of a coyote. Boone curled up next to my legs, already starting to doze. The music played softly from the little Bluetooth speaker I'd clipped to the tent wall. Something mellow, calming. I took one last sip of bourbon and lay back, staring out at the prairie through the open tent flap. The stars seemed brighter out here, almost too bright. There was no glow from any town, no headlights, nothing man-made for as far as I could see. Just me, the dog, and the night. I started to drift off. And then Boone made a sound. A sharp whine jolted me from sleep like a slap to the face. My eyes flew open, heart already racing before I even registered the sound. Boone was up, stiff, alert, his front legs rigid as stone. His ears were pointed forward, his entire body trembling like a coiled spring. He wasn't barking. He wasn't moving, just staring. I followed his gaze out into the open prairie, where the moonlight painted everything in shades of silver and shadow. The wind had died down, and the silence was unnerving, So total it rang in my ears. That's when I saw it. At first I thought it was just a boulder, another lump in the grass. But the shape was wrong. Lumpy, yes, but not still. It was low to the ground, hunched unnaturally like an animal frozen mid-crawl. My breath caught. I was sure it hadn't been there before. I'd scanned the entire prairie earlier from this very perch. There had been nothing but grass and earth and sky. I squinted, trying to will it into being just a trick of light. But the longer I looked, the more detail emerged. The way it hugged the ground. The subtle rise and fall, like shallow breathing. The faintest twitch of movement, as if it had just shifted its weight from one limb to another. My stomach turned to ice. It was watching us. My skin prickled. The air inside the tent felt heavier now, as if something unseen had crawled into my chest. Boone let out a low, guttural growl, his hackles up, lip curled. I could feel his tension vibrating through the floor of the tent. I slowly leaned over and peered down at the cab of my truck, just beneath us. That's where the pistol was. FNX 45 Tactical, loaded with hollow points. It might as well have been a mile away. My mind spun in 100 directions at once. I tried to logic my way out of it. Maybe it was just a rock, and Boone was reacting to a distant coyote or a rustling bush. Maybe I was letting the isolation get to me. But something deeper, something buried and primal, was screaming at me now. Get out, leave. Now I considered staying put. Maybe it would go away, but Boone's growl deepened and his whole body inched forward like he was about to leap. That's when I noticed something else. The silhouette had moved, barely perceptible at first. Just a slight forward lean, the kind of shift a predator makes before it lunges. My mouth went dry. It was closer now. Closer than before. Maybe 50 meters. Maybe less. A surge of panic shot through my limbs, igniting my muscles before my mind could catch up. I didn't decide to move. I just moved. I yanked the tent zipper open the rest of the way and swung my legs over the ladder. My hands were shaking as I grabbed Boone under his chest. He resisted for a second, growling again, eyes locked on the shape in the grass. I pulled him with more force than I meant to and started descending, my boots scraping against the metal rungs. Every creak of the ladder felt like thunder in the silence. The moment my feet hit the ground, the world felt too big, too open. The moon lit everything but offered no comfort. My back was to the thing. I couldn't stop imagining it, silently closing the distance with every heartbeat. I flung open the truck door and shoved Boone inside through the driver's side. He scrambled across the seat, nails clicking against the vinyl. I dove in after him, nearly hitting the gear shift with my knee, and slammed the door shut behind me. Only then did I dare to look back, and it was running, fast. The thing moved with a nightmarish fluidity, its limbs long and spring-loaded. It bounded on all fours, the hind legs disproportionately long, like a monstrous hybrid of canine and something else. The muscles rippled under its dark hide, and as it hit a patch of open moonlight, I caught a glimpse of its face, or what should have been a face. I still don't know what I saw. It wasn't just an animal. It wasn't just a shadow. I turned the key with numb fingers. The engine roared to life just as the creature surged forward. I threw the truck into drive, kicked the parking brake free, and smashed the gas pedal. The wheels tore up dirt as we lurched forward, fishtailing slightly before finding traction. Behind me, I heard the metallic crash of my gear spilling from the truck bed. Pots, stove, dishes, all clattering to the ground like bones. The rooftop tent flapped violently in the wind. I felt the ladder bang against the side of the truck once, twice, and then a howl, unlike anything I'd ever heard. It wasn't a coyote. It wasn't a wolf. It was higher, wilder, like a scream wrapped in teeth. Boone let out a panicked bark and flattened himself to the floor of the cab. I dared a glance to my left, and my blood ran cold. The thing was still with us, bounding alongside the truck, close enough that I could see its head bobbing as it moved. It was faster than any animal should be. I don't know how it kept up. It didn't even look winded. Its eyes locked on mine, pale, reflective, intelligent. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might burst. I almost lost control of the wheel, but I forced myself to focus. I couldn't afford a mistake. If I crashed out here, we were dead. Worse. I pressed the gas harder, the truck whining in protest as we climbed past 60. The thing dropped back slightly. I kept going. Another minute passed, then another, and finally it was gone. Just like that. I didn't see it peel off. It just wasn't there anymore. Eventually I hit the paved road, cold and smooth and blessedly familiar. I didn't slow down. I didn't speak. I didn't even breathe properly until we were miles away, and the prairie was a distant memory behind us. Boone rested his head on my thigh, still trembling. When we got home, I parked in the garage and killed the engine. The ticking metal of the hood was the only sound. My hands didn't stop shaking. My gear was gone. The tent shredded. I poured a bourbon. Then another. I didn't call anyone. I didn't post about it. I didn't want to hear someone laugh or tell me it was a dream. Because if it was real, and I knew it was, that meant it was still out there. Somewhere. Waiting.